think I may have overwatered my ZZ plant just a little at the very beginning. I had several of the stalks rot a little bit or turn brown at the base and break off when I tilted the plant. There's also a new shoot coming up right here from the same place that this old one is attached, or sort of attached. So I may remove that one and start it as either leaf cuttings or stem cutting to start a new plant. Yeah, just a little bit of a twist and this one came off. Probably would have survived. You can see a bit of green growth still in there, but more than half of the original connection to the rhizome is not there at all. I do want to keep a good bit of this stem, but I'm going to trim it right here to remove this darker section, and so I have a nice clean cut. Hopefully that will give me more surface area from which the root and rhizome can grow. So a razor gives me a nice clean cut, and I'll let this sit and heal for probably a few days before I put it in water. I believe you can put it straight into water and it'll be fine. I'll probably leave it at least overnight. I let this cutting heal over for a few days, and now I'm going to add it to this container of water that I've got several other cuttings growing in. I have a few ZZ plant leaves that have been rooting in water for a while now, as well as several stems, some of which have some good roots on them. So I think it's about time to put these in soil. I ran out of containers the right size, so I'm going to use this old goat milk, powdered goat milk container. And the top of the container actually will make a pretty decent tray to catch water. I'm using a mixture of potting soil and coarse leveling sand, about a 50-50 mixture for this. I've got a mixture of plants that I pulled off the parent plant at a bunch of different times. This stem cutting came off just a few days ago. I just put it in the water, so it's going to go back in the water. These two stem cuttings have been off for several months and have a good number of roots, so they're going to go in soil. I do have several leaves that came off at the same time as these stems. You can see they have good root growth and they're also growing small rhizomes, each of them, but I'm waiting for a sprout. So they're going to go back in the water for a while as well. Then you've got these, which were all from leaves at least 9, maybe 10 months ago. I started them in soil. That didn't work very well. So then I put them into water. These all have small sprouts on them. This one, fairly large sprout. And on these, you can see the small green sprout coming off the top there. All of these are going to go in soil. Got nice new growth here, several new plants coming up from the rhizomes, if they're called rhizomes, that I put in the soil before, and also these stem cuttings still doing just fine. So now I've got these new ones. This is an old stem cutting. You can see on the bottom, got some really nice root growth and also a fairly large rhizome growing there. No new plantlets coming up yet from it, but it's big enough, there's enough roots, there's enough growth down here that I'm ready to put it in the soil. And then I've got a bunch of leftover leaf cuttings. So these leaf cuttings each grow a little rhizome of their own. The leaves eventually rotted before any new plants could grow, but they're fairly large, they've got some good roots, and some of them are putting out just the beginnings of green of new plants. So I'm going to put these in the soil as well and see how they grow. Here they are outside the soil, not much to see, just little greenish brown blobs with some roots coming off, and I'm optimistic that there's actually a plant coming up. And I'm putting these just under the soil. If I think there's a little plant coming off of one of them, I'll have that at the surface of the soil, actually sticking slightly above the surface of the soil. These rhizomes don't grow really deep. They generally grow fairly close to the surface. And I don't actually know if these that don't have plants growing out of them, I don't know how well they'll grow. I'm sure some of them will just rot, which is okay. And some of them I think will survive and put up plants. Since they haven't started putting up plants yet, there's always a chance that they're not going to do too well getting to the point where they can photosynthesize and create their own energy before they run out of the energy stored in the rhizome. So now I'm going to take care of this just like normal, just like I would. I think I will actually water it a little bit more often for a while. ZZ plants in general, you don't want them soggy. They don't mind some drought. They don't mind drying out between waterings. But since these rhizomes have been living in water for a while, I want to have a gradual transition to them living in soil. I have a really good draining soil in here, so it's not going to hurt to water this a few extra times. These ZZ plants that I've grown both from stem cuttings and from water propagation of leaves are looking really good. It's getting a good bit of light, nice glossy dark green, and you can see possibly new plants, new shoots coming up. So fairly healthy. I'm happy with how this is doing, but in general, they seem to be quite happy.